Jake Morrison stood in front of the big window on the bridge of his ship. Outside, he could see Earth getting bigger and bigger as they got closer. The blue and green planet looked peaceful from here, but Jake knew better. He had seen what was waiting for them in the dark space between the stars. 2 years had passed since the attack on New Geneva Colony. 2 years since he watched his friends die. 2 years since the alien called Kexthar had torn his ship apart and left him for dead. Jake still had nightmares about it, but now they felt different, less scary. More like watching a movie about someone else's life. The scars on his left arm were still there. The doctors had fixed most of the damage, but they left some metal parts under his skin. Jake could feel them sometimes, especially when it was cold. Admiral Patricia Wells had made him get the brain implants after the attack. She said they needed commanders who could think clearly when aliens tried to mess with their heads. Jake touched the side of his head where the implants were. The small metal pieces were hidden under his skin, but he always knew they were there. They made everything different. When he got angry, the feeling went away fast. When he was scared, his mind would automatically start planning ways to fight back. It was like having a computer in his head that never stopped working. Amy Foster walked over to him. She was his second in command, and she had been with him since before the attack. Amy was one of the few people who remembered what Jake used to be like. Before the implants, before everything changed. "Sir, we got a message from Fleet Command," Amy said. She looked worried. "It's about the alien who's coming for the peace talks." Jake turned around. His face showed no emotion, which was normal now. The implants kept his feelings locked away most of the time. "What about the alien?" "It's a Zephyrion. They want to meet with you specifically." Amy paused. "Sir, the name on the request is Kexthar." For a moment, Jake felt something try to push through the implants, fear, anger, hatred, but the metal pieces in his brain caught the feelings and made them small and quiet. Instead of panic, Jake felt his mind automatically start planning. The implants were already calculating how to kill a Zephyrian warrior in 17 different ways. "I see," Jake said. His voice was calm and cold. "Send the message to my office. I'll read it there." Amy watched him walk away. She had known Jake for 5 years, and she remembered when he used to laugh and joke with the crew. He used to care about people. Now he was like a machine that looked like a human. The implants had saved his life, but they had also taken something important away from him. Jake sat in his small office and read the message. The words were formal and polite, but Jake could read between the lines. Kexthar was coming to Earth, and he wanted to finish what he started 2 years ago. The alien probably thought Jake was still the same scared human who had begged for his crew's lives. Jake remembered that day clearly. The implants made sure he never forgot anything important. Kexthar had boarded their ship with his hunting pack. The Zephyrions were tall and covered in green scales. They had sharp teeth and claws, and they were much stronger than humans. But what made them really dangerous was how much they enjoyed killing. Kexthar had killed Chief Petty Officer Danny Rodriguez first. Danny had been trying to protect the younger crew members when the alien grabbed him. Jake could still remember the sound Danny made when Kexthar broke his neck. Then the alien had gone after Ensign Lisa Park. She had been hiding behind a control panel, but Kexthar found her anyway. Jake had tried to fight back, but the alien was too strong. Kexthar had picked him up with one hand and thrown him against the wall. Jake's arm had been broken in 3 places, and he had been bleeding from his head, but Kexthar hadn't killed him. The alien had wanted Jake to watch as he killed the rest of the crew. "Fear makes the hunt more interesting," Kexthar had said in his hissing voice. "I want you to remember this moment, human. Remember how helpless you are." Jake had been rescued before Kexthar could finish the job. Other human ships had arrived and forced the aliens to retreat. But Jake had been broken inside. He couldn't sleep without seeing his dead friends. He couldn't eat without thinking about the sounds they had made when they died. That's when Admiral Wells had suggested the implants. Now, 2 years later, Jake felt nothing when he thought about that day. The implants kept the emotions locked away, but they also did something else. They made him think clearly about what needed to happen next. Kexthar thought he was coming to finish hunting a scared human, but Jake wasn't the same person anymore. Jake stood up and walked to the window in his office. Earth was getting closer, and he could see the space stations orbiting around it. In a few hours, he would be docking at Luna Station for the peace talks. The politicians thought they could make a deal with the Zephyrians. They thought the aliens would stop killing humans if they just gave them what they wanted, but Jake knew better. The implants helped him understand alien psychology in ways that normal humans couldn't. Zephyrians were predators. They didn't want peace. They wanted to hunt and kill. The only reason they were talking about peace was because humans had started fighting back and winning. Amy knocked on his door. "Sir, we'll be docking in 30 minutes. Do you want me to prepare the security team?" "No," Jake said. "I'll be going alone." Amy looked surprised. "Sir, that's not protocol. You're supposed to have guards when meeting with potentially hostile aliens." Jake turned around and looked at her. His eyes were cold and empty. "I don't need guards, Amy. I've learned some things since the last time I met Kexthar." Amy felt a chill run down her back. There was something in Jake's voice that scared her. It wasn't anger or hatred. It was something much worse. It was the voice of someone who had no doubt about what he was going to do. Double quote, "Sir, what are you planning?" Amy asked. Jake walked past her toward the door. "I'm going to teach an alien hunter what it feels like to be prey." As Jake left his office, Amy stood, alone and worried. She had seen what the implants could do to a person. They made you smarter and faster and stronger, but they also took away the things that made you human. Compassion, mercy, the ability to feel sorry for your enemies. Jake Morrison was going to meet the alien who had killed his friends and tried to kill him, but he wasn't going as the same frightened human who had barely survived their last encounter. He was going as something new, something that the Zephyrians had never faced before. The ship docked at Luna Station, and Jake walked toward his destiny. Behind him, Amy watched through the window as he disappeared into the crowd of diplomats and politicians. She said a quiet prayer for both Jake and the alien who was about to learn what humans could become when they stopped being afraid. The hunt was about to begin again, but this time the roles would be reversed. Luna Station was busy with aliens and humans walking everywhere. Jake Morrison moved through the crowds like he was hunting something. His eyes looked at everything and everyone. The implants in his brain were working all the time, telling him about dangers and escape routes and weapons he could use if he needed them. The station was huge, with white walls and bright lights. There were aliens from many different worlds here for the peace talks. Jake saw the tall bird-like Altarians with their colorful feathers. He saw the small gray Proxians who always traveled in groups. And he saw the green-scaled Zephyrians who moved like deadly snakes. Jake walked to the meeting room where he was supposed to see Kexthar. Other humans tried to talk to him, but he ignored them. Admiral Wells had tried to give him a team of bodyguards, but Jake had said no. He wanted to be alone with the alien who had killed his friends. The meeting room was small and plain. There was a table in the middle with chairs around it. The big windows looked out at the stars. Jake stood near the door and waited. His implants were already planning how to kill Kexthar if the alien tried to attack him. The door opened, and Kexthar walked in. The alien was exactly like Jake remembered. Tall and covered in green scales, sharp teeth and yellow eyes. Claws that could tear through metal. But there was something different about him, too. He had new scars on his face and arms. The other humans had been fighting back harder than before. Kexthar looked at Jake and smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator who had found easy prey. "Commander Morrison," the alien said in his hissing voice, "I told you I would come back for you." Jake did not move. He stood perfectly still and looked at the alien. His face showed no fear, no anger, nothing at all. The implants kept all his emotions locked away. "I remember you," Jake said. His voice was calm and cold. "New Geneva Colony, you killed my people." "Yes," Kexthar said. He moved closer to Jake. "I killed the one called Danny Rodriguez first. Then the young female, Lisa Park, I made you watch. I wanted you to feel helpless." Jake's implants remembered everything perfectly. Danny had been trying to protect the younger crew members. Lisa had been hiding and crying. Jake had tried to fight but had been too weak. The alien had enjoyed making him watch his friends die. "Where is your fear, human?" Kekstar asked. He was confused. Last time, Jake had been shaking and begging for his crew's lives. Now the human looked like a statue. "You were so afraid before. You begged me to spare your friends. It was delicious." Jake took a step forward. The alien was bigger and stronger, but Jake was not afraid. The implants had taken away his fear and replaced it with something else. Cold planning. Perfect calculation. "I don't feel fear anymore," Jake said. The Admiral made sure of that. Kekstar tilted his head. This was not what he expected. Humans were supposed to be weak and scared. They were supposed to run and hide and beg for mercy. But this human was different. There was something wrong with him. "What did they do to you?" Kekstar asked. His voice was less confident now. Jake touched the side of his head where the implants were hidden. "They gave me upgrades, made me better, made me think clearly." He looked directly into the alien's yellow eyes. "Made me understand what needs to be done." The alien laughed, but it sounded forced. "You think your human technology makes you strong enough to fight me? I am a Zephyrian warrior. I have killed hundreds of your kind. I'm not going to fight you," Jake said. His voice was still calm. "Fighting is what animals do." "I'm going to hunt you?" Kekstar stopped laughing. Something in the human's voice made him uncomfortable. This was not the same frightened creature he had tortured 2 years ago. This human sounded like a predator talking about prey. "You cannot hunt me," Kekstar said. "I am the hunter, you are the prey. That is the natural order." Jake walked around the table, moving slowly and carefully. Kekstar turned to follow him, but something felt wrong. The human moved like a machine. Every step was planned. Every movement had a purpose. It was like watching a computer that had been built to look like a person. "The natural order has changed," Jake said. "Humans learn, we adapt. We become whatever we need to become to survive." The alien's claws came out. They were long and sharp and had killed many humans. But Jake looked at them like they were just tools. The implants were already calculating how to avoid them, how to use them against the alien if needed. "I will kill you like I killed the others," Kekstar said. But his voice was not as sure as before. "Danny Rodriguez was a good man," Jake said. He was still walking around the table. He had a wife and 2 children. He liked to play music in his free time. Lisa Park was 23 years old. She wanted to be a doctor. She was scared of the dark. Kekstar watched the human move. There was something hypnotic about it. Something that made him want to keep watching. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you killed them without knowing who they were," Jake said. "You killed them for fun, for sport. But I know who you are, Kekstar. I know about your family on Zephyr Prime. I know about your 3 offspring. I know about your mate, Velanara." The alien's eyes went wide. Humans were not supposed to know about Zephyrian families. That information was secret. "How do you know those names?" Jake stopped walking. He stood perfectly still and looked at the alien. "I know many things now. The implants help me learn. Help me understand, help me plan." Kekstar felt something he had never felt before when facing a human. Uncertainty. This creature was not behaving like prey. It was acting like something else, something dangerous. "What do you want?" Kekstar asked. "I want you to understand something," Jake said. "You came here thinking you were still the predator. You thought I was still the same scared human you. Left alive 2 years ago, but I've changed. I've become something new." The alien backed away from the table. His instincts were telling him to run, but that was impossible. He was a Zephyrian warrior. He did not run from humans. "You think your metal implants make you my equal?" Kekstar asked. "I'm still stronger, still faster, still better at killing." Jake smiled for the first time. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator who had found weak prey. "Strength and speed are not everything. Intelligence is better. Patience is better, and I have something you don't have." "What?" Have nothing left to lose, Jake said. You took everything from me, my friends, my emotions, my humanity. All I have left is purpose. And my purpose is to make sure you understand what it feels like to be prey. Kexthar looked at the human and felt something cold in his chest. Fear. Real fear. Not the excitement he felt when hunting, but the terror of being hunted. The human was right. He had changed. He had become something that Zephyrians had never faced before. The peace talks are just beginning, Jake said. You'll be staying here for weeks. Sleeping here, eating here, walking through these halls. And I'll be watching you, learning your habits, finding your weaknesses. The alien's claws were shaking now. You cannot touch me. I am a diplomatic representative. I have protection. I don't need to touch you, Jake said. I just need you to know that I'm always there. Always watching, always planning. Until you understand what my friends felt in their last moments, Kexthar backed toward the door. The human followed him slowly, like a machine that would never stop, never tire, never give up. The alien had come here to finish killing his prey. But now he was starting to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. The hunter had become the hunted, and the game was just beginning. The peace talks had been going on for 3 days. In the big meeting rooms, diplomats from different worlds talked about borders and trade. They spoke about ending wars and making treaties. But Jake Morrison had his own kind of peace to make. He moved through Luna Station like a ghost. The implants in his brain helped him avoid the security cameras. He knew exactly where to walk so no one would see him. The station had maintenance tunnels that connected all the levels. Jake used these tunnels to get around without being noticed. Kexthar was staying in the Zephyrian section of the station. It was designed for his kind, with hot humid air and dim lighting. Jake had studied the plans for weeks before coming here. He knew every vent, every passage, every way in and out. The first thing Jake did was change the air in Kexthar's room. Zephyrians hated cold, dry air. It made them sick and weak. Jake found the environmental controls and slowly made the air cooler and drier. Not enough to kill the alien, but enough to make him uncomfortable all the time. Then Jake went to the food. Supply area. Zephyrians ate raw meat, but they were very picky about what kind. Jake found chemicals that would not hurt the alien but would make the meat taste wrong. Every time Kexthar tried to eat, the food would taste bad and make him feel sick, but the real hunting had not started yet. Jake wanted Kexthar to know he was being watched. He wanted the alien to feel the same fear that Danny Rodriguez and Lisa Park had felt. Jake waited until Kexthar was sleeping. Then he quietly entered the alien's room through a maintenance shaft. Kexthar was lying on a heated sleeping platform, his scaled body rising and falling with each breath. Jake moved silently to the alien's desk. He left a human combat knife stuck in the metal surface. The knife had been Danny Rodriguez's. Jake had kept it for 2 years, waiting for this moment. Next to the knife, he left a picture of Danny with his wife and children. Under the picture, Jake wrote a simple message. He had a name. Jake left the room the same way he had come in. The next morning, Kexthar woke up to find the knife and the picture. The alien roared in anger and called for security. But the guards found nothing. No signs of how anyone had gotten in, no fingerprints. No evidence. Someone was in my room, Kexthar told the security chief. A human. He left weapons. The security chief looked at the alien's room. Everything was normal except for the knife and picture. Sir, our sensors show no one entered or left your room last night. Perhaps you were dreaming. Kexthar grabbed the security chief by the throat. I do not dream, you fool. The human Morrison is hunting me. But when they checked the security recordings, Jake had been in his own room all night. The cameras showed him sleeping peacefully. There was no proof that he had done anything wrong. That night, Jake struck again. This time he left a picture of Lisa Park on Kexthar's pillow. The young woman was smiling in the photo, wearing her uniform. Under it, Jake wrote, she was 23 years old. Kexthar did not sleep that night. He sat in his chair with his claws out, waiting for the human to come back. But Jake did not come. Instead, he used the station's communication system to play sounds in Kexthar's room. The sounds of humans crying. The sounds of his victims from 2 years ago. The alien tried to turn off the sounds, but they kept coming from different places. The walls, the ceiling, the floor. Everywhere and nowhere at the same time. By the fourth day, Kexthar looked sick. His scales were dull and his eyes were red. He had not eaten properly or slept well since the peace talks started. The other Zephyrians were starting to notice. Ambassador Valtar was the leader of the Zephyrian group. She was older than Kexthar and much smarter. She found him sitting in his room, staring at the wall. "What is wrong with you?" she asked. "You look like you have been fighting a war." Kexthar turned to look at her. "The human Morrison is hunting me. He gets into my room. He leaves things. He makes sounds. He is trying to drive me crazy." Valtar looked around the room. Everything seemed normal. "I see no signs of intrusion. Perhaps the stress of the peace talks is affecting your mind." "No," Kexthar said. "He told me he would hunt me. He told me he would make me understand what it feels like to be prey." Valtar was worried. Kexthar was one of their best warriors, but he was acting like a frightened child. "Have you tried to confront him?" "I cannot find him," Kexthar said. "He is always watching, but I never see him. He knows things about me, about my family, about my past." Jake was indeed watching. He had placed tiny cameras in the Zephyrian section of the station. He could see everything Kexthar did, every meal, every conversation, every moment of fear. The implants in Jake's brain processed all this information. They told him when Kexthar was most vulnerable, when he was most afraid, when he was most likely to make a mistake. That night, Jake did something different. Instead of leaving objects in Kexthar's room, he appeared in person. The alien was trying to sleep when he heard a voice. "Hello, Kexthar." The alien jumped up, his claws ready to fight. But Jake was standing in the shadows near the door. He looked calm and relaxed, like he was visiting a friend. "How did you get in here?" Kexthar demanded. "I walk where I want to walk," Jake said. "I go where I want to go. Just like you did on my ship 2 years ago?" The alien looked around the room. The door was still locked. The windows were sealed. There was no way a human should have been able to get inside. "What do you want?" Kexthar asked. "I want to show you something," Jake said. He held up a small device. "This is a recording of your family on Zephyr Prime, your mate Velanara. Your 3 offspring. They live in the crystal caves of the northern continent." Kexthar's eyes went wide. "How do you know about my family?" "I know many things," Jake said. "I know that your oldest offspring is about to undergo the warrior trials. I know that your mate works in the healing centers. I know that they think you are a hero." The alien's claws were shaking. "If you hurt them." "I'm not going to hurt them," Jake said. "I'm not like you. I don't kill innocent people for fun, but I want you to imagine something. I want you to imagine what would happen if someone like you visited them. Someone who enjoyed causing pain." Kexthar could not speak. The thought of his family being hurt was too terrible to consider. "That's how I felt when you killed my friends," Jake said. "That's the fear you wanted me to feel. And now you're feeling it too." The alien backed away from the human. "You are insane. The implants have made you crazy, maybe," Jake said. "But I'm still smarter than you, still more dangerous than you, and I'm never going to stop hunting you." Jake turned and walked toward the door. It opened by itself, even though it was supposed to be locked. The alien watched him leave, then checked the door. It was still locked from the inside. There was no way the human could have gotten out. Kexthar sat down on his sleeping platform and put his head in his hands. For the first time in his life, he understood what it felt like to be hunted. The human was right. He had become the prey, and the worst part was that Jake Morrison was just getting started. By the 7th day of the peace talks, Kexthar had stopped leaving his room. The other Zephyrians were worried about their warrior. He had not eaten in 2 days. He had not slept properly in a week. When they tried to talk to him, he would just stare at the walls and mutter about shadows and ghosts. Ambassador Valtar decided she needed to do something. She went to find the human who was causing all the trouble. She found Jake Morrison in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. He was standing perfectly still, like a statue. "Commander Morrison," Valtar said. Her voice was calm, but Jake could hear the anger underneath. "We need to talk." Jake turned around slowly. His face showed no emotion. The implants kept everything locked away inside his mind. "What can I do for you, Ambassador?" "You know what you can do," Valtar said. "You can stop whatever you are doing to Kexthar. He is a broken warrior. He speaks of things that make no sense. He says you are hunting him." Jake looked at the alien ambassador. She was different from Kexthar, older, smarter, more dangerous in her own way. But the implants had already calculated 17 ways to kill her if she became a threat. "I haven't broken any laws," Jake said. "I haven't hurt anyone. I've been following all the rules of the peace talks." "Perhaps you have not broken human laws," Valtar said. "But you have done something to our warrior. He was strong when he came here. Now he jumps at shadows, he refuses to eat. He will not sleep." Jake's smile was cold and empty. "Maybe he's just remembering what it feels like to be afraid. Maybe he's learning something about himself." Valtar stepped closer to the human. She was tall and dangerous, with sharp claws and powerful muscles, but Jake did not back away. He stood his ground and looked directly into her eyes. "Kexthar is under my protection," she said. "If you continue to torment him, there will be consequences." "What kind of consequences?" Jake asked. His voice was still calm, but there was something deadly underneath it. "The kind that end peace talks," Valtar said. "The kind that start wars." Jake laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "You think I'm afraid of war? You think I'm afraid of your threats? 2 years ago, your warrior killed my friends and tried to kill me. Now you want me to feel sorry for him. Because he's scared?" The alien ambassador realized she was dealing with something she had never encountered before. This human was not like the others. He showed no fear, no mercy, no doubt about what he was doing. "What do you want?" Valtar asked. "I want your warrior to understand what my friends felt when they died," Jake said. "I want him to know what it's like to be helpless, to be hunted, to be afraid. And then what? What happens when he learns this?" "Lesson?" Jake turned back to look at the stars. "Then maybe he'll understand why humans fight so hard to survive. Maybe he'll understand that we're not just weak prey animals. We're something else, something that learns, something that adapts, something that becomes whatever it needs to become." Valtar left the observation deck feeling more worried than before. The human was right about one thing. Kexthar had killed his friends and enjoyed doing it. But what the human had become in response was something that scared her more than any warrior. Meanwhile, Kexthar was having his own problems. He had barricaded himself in his room using furniture and anything else he could find. He sat in the corner with his claws out, waiting for the human to come back, but Jake did not come to his room that night. Instead, he used the station's computer system to send messages to Kexthar's personal communicator. The messages were simple and short, but they drove the alien crazy. "I'm watching you. I know where you are. I know what you're thinking. You can't hide from me." Kexthar tried to turn off his communicator, but the messages kept coming. They appeared on his room's display screen. They played through the audio system. They even appeared on the environmental control panel. The alien threw his communicator against the wall, but it did not help. The messages were everywhere. In the lights, in the air circulation system, in the very walls of the station. Jake was using his knowledge of human technology to turn the entire station into a weapon against Kexthar's mind. The implants helped him hack into systems that should have been impossible to access. He could control anything electronic on the station. On the 8th day, Kexthar finally broke. He ran out of his room screaming and clawing at the air. The other Zephyrians found him in the corridor, fighting invisible enemies. "He's everywhere," Kexthar shouted. "The human ghost is everywhere. He's in the walls. He's in the air. He's inside my head." The station's medical team tried to calm him down, but Kexthar was beyond help. He had been a proud warrior, but now he was just a scared animal. The constant fear and lack of sleep had broken his mind. Captain Richard Hayes was the commander of Luna Station. He was a good man who wanted the peace talks to succeed, but the situation with Kexthar was getting out of control. "Commander Morrison," Hayes said when he found Jake in the cafeteria, "we need to talk about the Zephyrian warrior." Jake was eating his lunch calmly. He looked up at the captain with empty eyes. "What about him?" "He's had a complete mental breakdown," Hayes said. "The medical team says he's suffering from severe paranoia and sleep deprivation. He keeps talking about you." "I haven't done anything to him," Jake said. "I've been following all the rules." Hayes sat down across from Jake. He had been a soldier for 20 years and he knew when someone was lying. But he also knew when someone was telling the technical truth while hiding something bigger. "Maybe you haven't broken any rules," Hayes said. "But you've done something. That alien came here as a proud warrior. Now he's a broken mess." Jake finished his lunch and stood up. "Sometimes warriors learn that they're not as strong as they thought. Sometimes predators learn what it feels like to be prey. And sometimes good men become monsters," Hayes said. Jake stopped walking. For just a moment something flickered in his eyes, a memory of who he used to be, a shadow of the man he had been before the implants. "Maybe," Jake said quietly, "but monsters are what we need to survive in this galaxy." He walked away, leaving Hayes alone at the table. The captain watched him go and wondered if humanity was winning the war against the aliens by becoming something worse than they were. That night, Jake visited Kexthar one last time. The alien was huddled in the corner of his room, shaking and mumbling to himself. When he saw Jake, he did not try to fight. He just stared at the human with broken eyes. "Please," Kexthar whispered. "Please stop. I understand now. I understand what I did to your friends. I understand what it feels like to be hunted." Jake looked down at the broken alien. The implants told him that his mission was almost complete. The predator had learned what it felt like to be prey. Soon, word would spread throughout the Zephyrian Empire about what humans could become when they stopped being afraid. "Good," Jake said. "Then my work here is almost done?" But as he looked at what he had created, Jake wondered if Admiral Wells had been right to give him the implants. They had made him strong enough to break a Zephyrian warrior. But they had also made him into something that his old friends might not recognize. The hunter had become the hunted. But in the process, something else had been born. Something that was neither hunter nor prey. Something that was purely human in the most terrifying way possible. The peace talks were ending. After 10 days of meetings, the humans and aliens had reached an agreement. The Zephyrians would stop attacking human colonies. The humans would share some of their technology. Everyone seemed happy except for one. Broken warrior who sat in a medical room, staring at nothing. Jake Morrison stood in the same observation deck where he had first talked to Ambassador Veltar. He watched the alien ships preparing to leave. Soon, they would carry word back to their worlds about what had happened here. Word about what humans could become when they stopped being prey. Admiral Patricia Wells found him there. She was the woman who had ordered the implants to be put in Jake's brain. She looked proud but also worried. "The mission was a success," she said. "The Zephyrian delegation is requesting immediate departure. They've agreed to all our terms without argument." Jake did not turn around. He kept watching the ships. "They're afraid now." "Good." "The other alien species noticed what happened to Kexthar," Wells continued. "They're all being much more careful in their negotiations, more respectful. Word will spread that humans are not to be underestimated." "That was the point," Jake said. His voice was still cold and empty. "Fear is the only language predators understand." Wells moved to stand beside him. She had known Jake before the implants. He had been a good man then. Kind, caring, someone who laughed with his crew and worried about their safety. Now he was something else entirely. "Are you satisfied with what you've accomplished?" she asked. Jake finally turned to look at her. "Satisfied? I completed my mission. The alien who killed my friends has been broken. Other aliens will think twice before hunting humans, but satisfied?" He paused. "I'm not sure I can feel satisfaction anymore." The Admiral studied his face. The implants had made him incredibly effective, but they had also taken something away. Something important. Do you regret what you've become? Jake thought about the question. The implants processed it like any other problem. Regret is an emotion. I don't have many of those left. But I understand that something has been lost. The man I used to be would not have done what I did to Kexthar. The man you used to be couldn't have survived what Kexthar did to him, Wells said. You were broken after the attack. The implants saved your life. They saved my life, Jake agreed. But they killed who I was. I'm something new now. Something that my old friends might not recognize. Before Wells could respond, Captain Hayes approached them. He looked tired and worried. Commander Morrison, the Zephyrian delegation wants to speak with you before they leave. Jake nodded. I'll be there in a moment. Hayes left, and Jake prepared to face the aliens one last time. But as he walked toward the meeting room, he wondered what he would see in their eyes. Fear? Hatred? Respect? Or something else entirely? The meeting room was the same one where he had first confronted Kexthar 10 days ago, but now it felt different. The aliens who waited for him were not the same confident predators who had arrived. They looked nervous, careful, like prey animals. Who had learned to be afraid? Ambassador Veltar was there, along with 2 other Zephyrian leaders. They all watched Jake as he entered the room. Their eyes followed his every movement. Commander Morrison, Veltar said. We wanted to speak with you before departing. Jake sat down at the table. He looked completely relaxed, but the aliens could sense something dangerous about him. Something that made their instincts tell them to run. What can I do for you? Jake asked. We want to understand what you are, Veltar said. You are not like other humans. You're something else. Something we have never encountered before. Jake smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. I'm what humans become when we stop being afraid, when we stop running, when we learn to hunt instead of being hunted. The warrior Kexthar was one. Of our best, another alien said. He had killed hundreds of enemies, but you broke him without ever touching him. How? I used his own methods against him, Jake said. He liked to make his victims feel helpless. So I made him feel helpless. He enjoyed causing fear, so I made him afraid. He thought he was the perfect predator. I showed him that he was just another prey animal. The aliens looked at each other. They were beginning to understand something that terrified them. Humans were not just becoming better fighters. They were becoming something that could outthink and outhunt even the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. What will you do now? Veltar asked. I'll continue to serve my people, Jake said. I'll protect them from threats. And I'll make sure that other predators learn the same lesson that Kexthar learned. And what lesson is that? Jake stood up. That humans are not prey. We're something much more dangerous. We're survivors. And we'll become whatever we need to become to keep surviving. The aliens left the room quickly. They could not get away from the human fast enough. As they prepared their ships for departure, they talked in hushed voices about what they had witnessed. Word would spread throughout the galaxy. The humans had changed. They were no longer the weak prey species that could be hunted for sport. Jake returned to the observation deck to watch the alien ships leave. As they disappeared into the starfield, he felt something that might have been satisfaction. His mission was complete. His friends had been avenged. Humanity was safer because of what he had done, but as he stood there alone, Jake also felt something else. Something that the implants could not quite suppress. Loneliness. The man he had been before the attack would have felt proud of protecting his people. He would have felt sad about what he had to become to do it. He would have wondered if there had been another way. The implants made those feelings small and distant, but they were still there. Deep inside, where the technology could not reach, a small part of the old Jake Morrison remained. And that part was horrified by what he had become. Amy Foster found him there an hour later. She had been his friend before the implants, and she was one of the few people who still tried to reach the human being inside the machine. The aliens are gone, she said. Word is already spreading through the fleet about what happened here. Command is very pleased, Jake nodded. Good, maybe now the other species will think twice before attacking us. Amy studied his face. Jake, are you all right? I mean, really all right? For just a moment, Jake's expression softened. The implants flickered and Amy saw a glimpse of the man he used to be. I don't know, he said quietly. I did what needed to be done. I protected our people, but I'm not sure what I've become in the process. You're still human, Amy said. The implants haven't changed that. Jake looked at her with empty eyes. Haven't they? I broke a warrior's mind without feeling any guilt. I turned a predator into a cowering animal and felt nothing. I've become something that even I don't recognize. You've become what we needed you to become, Amy said. A protector? A guardian? Someone who can keep us safe from the monsters out there? Jake turned back to the stars. Maybe, but in becoming a monster hunter, I think I've become a monster. Myself, and I'm not sure that's a victory. As he stood there, Jake Morrison realized that the predator had indeed come back for revenge. But in defeating it, he had discovered something terrifying. The human Deathworlder was no longer the same. He had become something new, something that might be necessary for humanity's survival, but also something that might be too dangerous to exist. The war was over. Humanity had won. But the cost of victory was a man's soul, and Jake wondered if that was a price worth paying.